do this. But I told her people, I said, look, here's the deal. The movement that Annie is starting is so powerful and it's so important that she cannot do it by herself. There are some of you in this room who've been sent here to be a part of her mission. She has a premium offer for you, but she's very uncomfortable about making it to you because she doesn't want you to feel like she feels like she's better than you. I'm not going to be here for the rest of the week, but y'all are. Do not let her off the hook. Make her give you that offer. And I said, I'm not looking at her right now while I'm saying this. I'm just telling y'all, don't let her off the hook. And so they kept, what's the offer, Annie? What's the offer? 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 And finally, she just said, okay, the offer's $150,000. 7 people bought it. She had her first $1 million day ever. Now, why did I tell you that story? Because something like that is going on inside of you. And maybe it's not $1 million day, maybe it's $1 million year. Maybe it's $1 million business. Since the first time I ever heard the word million, since the first time I ever heard the word millionaire, I wanted to be one. I was like, I'm going to be a millionaire. I'm going to be a millionaire one day. I didn't know how. I didn't know what I was going to do. I saw a movie when I was a little kid about this guy. He went to prison. He wrote a letter to 1 million people asking them to give him $1 so when he got out, he wouldn't have to be a criminal anymore. I'm like, okay. I don't remember what the name of the movie was. But I'm like, $1 from 1 million people. That'd be pretty cool. Well, here's what I discovered. Before you make $1 million, it feels so hard that it seems almost impossible. I'm going to say that again. Before you make $1 million, before you make your first $1 million, $1 million in a year, $1 million in a month, $1 million in a week, $1 million in a day, whatever. Before you make your first $1 million, it seems so difficult that it feels almost impossible. And so what most people do, they take how it seems, they take how it feels, and then they abandon the objective, right? They're like, it's so hard, I'll just go ahead and keep making 40,000, right? Okay. I submit to you, and I'm going to show you here today in this video, how to use your mind to change your life, or what I call mind over millions. Either in your mind, millions are bigger than your mind, or in your mind is bigger than millions. I'm going to show you how to make your mind bigger than the millions, because it already is. You don't have to make it that way. You just have to become aware of the fact that it already is. And I've got a client. I'm not going to tell you her name, but I was just coaching her literally last week. I think it was last week or the week before. And she came to a training. She's a very high-level client. She just recently bought one of our $350,000 coaching programs, and then she bought another $25,000 coaching program, and she's at that training. I'm teaching her stuff, and she's got an event coming up, and I'm like, okay, this is what you do. You offer this offer. Well, how much? She's like, I don't know, but in order for me to make it worth my while, I'd have to charge $150,000, and I don't want people to feel like that I think I'm better than them. And she had all this internal conflict going on. I'm like, okay, so what we'll do, we'll sit down and we'll have a conversation after the event's over. Cool. So we sat down and had a conversation. She said, okay, these are all of my resistances. So the reason she told me these are all my resistances is because at the event I said, here's the reality. What you resist persists, and what you embrace becomes grace, and grace is a gift. So what happens is, what God intends for a lot of us to be a gift that we receive, it's actually a friction that persists because we continue to resist it. Are y'all tracking? And so I said, okay, so I answered, okay, this is what you do about this one, 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 this is what you do about this one. And she invited me to come speak at her event. And so when I was speaking at her event, she didn't know I was going to do this. But I told her people, I said, look, here's the deal. The movement that Annie is starting is so powerful and it's so important that she cannot do it by herself. There are some of you in this room who've been sent here to be a part of her mission. She has a premium offer for you, but she's very uncomfortable about making it to you because she doesn't want you to feel like she feels like she's better than you. I'm not going to be here for the rest of the week, but y'all are. Do not let her off the hook. Make her give you that offer. And I said, I'm not looking at her right now while I'm saying this. I'm just telling y'all, don't let her off the hook. And so they kept, what's the offer, Annie? What's the offer? 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 And finally, she just said, okay, the offer's $150,000. 7 people bought it. She had her first $1 million day ever. Now, why did I tell you that story? Because something like that is going on inside of you. And maybe it's not $1 million day. Maybe it's $1 million year. Maybe it's $1 million business. But something, you have an internal conflict going on right now. It is not something outside of you that's stopping you from the objectives that you set for yourself. It's something inside of you. How do I know that? Well, there are 2 types of factors. There are contributing factors and there are determining factors. We can always tell the difference because contributing factors are all outside of us. Determining factors are all inside of us. See, you say, Myron, you don't understand. Racism won't let me. No. Racism is outside of you. It cannot stop you. It might be able to slow you down, but it can't stop you. Myron, I'm a woman in a man's world. No. It can't stop you. It might slow you down, but it can't stop you. I'm not saying those are not realities in the world. I'm saying they may be realities, but they're contributing realities. They're not determining realities. Okay, so I'm going to read a couple verses to you. Allow them to sink in like never before. Like, let the words, the individual words in these sentences marinate into every fiber of your being. Here's what it says. Proverbs chapter 21, verse number 5. The thoughts of the diligent tend only, write only in all capital letters, please. The thoughts of the diligent tend only to plenteousness. I'm going to just stop right there. Let me ask you a question. How many thoughts have you had in the last 24 hours that have tended to lack? Is that a good question? How many thoughts have you had? Now, I ain't talking about this month. I ain't talking about this year. I ain't talking about the last decade. The last 24 hours. How many worried, anxious, what if it doesn't work? What if I run out of this? What if I don't have enough for that? And all that mind chatter. How many of those thoughts of lack have you had? Because it says the thoughts of the what? Diligent tend only to plenteousness. So let me ask you a question. Does that seem to mean or imply? I'm not telling you, I'm asking you. You use your brain. Mine's busy right now. Does that seem to suggest or imply that if your mind is not tending to plenteousness, that maybe you're not diligent? And we didn't like that, did we? Myron, you don't know how hard I work. Oh, I do know how hard you work. But here's what I discovered a long time ago. People will maintain a level of blood, sweat, and tears, physical diligence. So they don't have to stop long enough and make their brain sweat and think about how to be more mentally diligent so they don't have to be as physically diligent. You're working your body into the grave because you refuse to work your mind. Is that a possibility? I ain't saying it's the case. Hey, you know what? I'm asking the question. Y'all the ones with the answers. I just got questions today. Hey, is it possible that maybe the reason you're where you are is because when it comes time for you to make a decision that could change the destiny of your family, I got chills when I said that your thoughts tend so much to lack that you just assume that that's the way things are Not because that's the way things are, but because that's the way you are. Because we don't see things as they are. We see things as we are. Are you looking at a situation and assigning a level of difficulty to it before you even endeavor to do it, and then letting yourself off the hook because it just ain't my time yet? No, that's not what God intended for me. That's for other people. I mean, what are the words that you say to yourself that excuse you from thinking about a solution to that thing you're facing that's opposing you? What are the words you use? Because I didn't put it in there. It was in my Bible when I got up this morning. Here's what it says. Just in case somebody missed the reference. Proverbs 21:5. Oh, that ain't even the whole verse. This is just the first half. The thoughts of the diligent tend only to plenteousness. Only. Let me ask you a question. When was the last time you thought about something with two possible outcomes and only allowed yourself to entertain the plentiful outcome? Anybody picking up what I'm putting down? So one of the things, I've said this many times, one of the things I've learned and I'm learning to do, I'm not going to pretend that I have it down, but I got it fairly dialed in. I only allow myself to entertain outcomes that empower me, that I desire. I don't allow myself to entertain as a possibility an outcome that's undesirable to me. Here's why. How many of y'all remember the question, and we've heard many people ask it, what would you attempt if you knew you could not fail? How many of you would be honest and say, what I would attempt if I knew I could not fail is more than I've been attempting so far, heretofore? Right. That's the point. So why are you not attempting it? Because your thoughts about that thing are not tending only to plenteousness. We look at something, oftentimes, we look at the outcome and it's desirable, we look at the price tag and we say, it costs too much. You know what I'm doing when I say it costs too much? I'm abdicating my responsibility because I'm making the problem it. Instead of saying, I haven't figured out a way to afford it yet. I'm saying the problem is it costs too much. Well, if it costs too much, it's not going to change, so I'm stuck. People, okay, so who's in sales? Who on YouTube's in sales? Who in here is in sales? Like you sell something, you got a business. If you got a business, you're in sales. Okay, if you got a business and you're in sales and you don't know it, I'm here for you. I'm here for you, baby. Okay. So watch this. You're in sales. How many of you have ever had somebody say, I can't afford it? Right, okay. So from now on, heretofore, like it's okay, you believed them. Never believe that again. Because I can't afford it is not a real concept. It does not exist. I can't afford it is a construct. What does that mean? Okay, I'm going to ask you a question before I answer that question. How many of you have ever bought something you didn't have the money for? Wave at me, wave at me. Exactly. You bought stuff you couldn't have, wait, you didn't have the money for it. But you didn't say I can't afford it. What did you do? Here's what you did. You figured it out. When somebody says I can't afford it, it doesn't matter what it is. What I can't afford it really means is this. From now on, every time you hear I can't afford it, I want you to hear my voice in your head saying, this is not important enough to me to figure it out. Because that's what they're really saying. This is not important enough to me for me to figure it out. How many of y'all tracking? And so what we have to do is we have to figure out whether or not it's worth it for us. So the thoughts of the diligent tend only to plenteousness. But everyone that is hasty only to want. Hasty. In a hurry. Now what most people assume that means, and it might mean this too, when it says hasty, people think, well, that means you're just in a hurry to make the money. What if instead it means you're just in a hurry for the psychological pressure that thinking about the possibilities of a positive outcome, you just want that psychological pressure to be relieved in a hurry. And so you decide, I can't do that. What if that's the haste? What if you hurry up and change your thinking so you don't have to figure it out? What if that's the haste? Because the scripture says the thoughts of the diligent tend only to plainest. Here's what the decision that would be good for all of us to make. I decide that from now on, for the rest of my life, I am going to become every day more mentally diligent so I don't have to work my body so hard. Wouldn't that be an amazing decision? Yes. Okay, so Proverbs chapter 13, verse 2. A man shall eat good by the fruit of his mouth, but the soul of the transgressors shall eat violence. A man shall eat good by the fruit of his mouth. Sounds like to me that somebody's words are sowing seeds. If there are two things that would serve us well to become hyper intentional about, the thoughts we think and the words we say. If we become hyper intentional about the thoughts we allow ourselves to entertain and the words we allow to leak out of our mouths, our lives will change in ways we currently cannot imagine. Now, I think it's so fascinating that these verses are talking about the two highest levels of value. I know y'all have seen me teach on the four levels of value, but I'm going to teach it again right now. I'm going to go to the board. I'm going to show you the four levels of value, and I'm going to show you something that maybe you've never seen before. Because here's what we got to do. Here's what all of us have to do. We have to become more cognizant of the faculties of your mind. You got to become more aware of the faculties of your mind. You have to become more aware of the function of your mouth. And you have to become more aware of the factory of your methods, and the fruitfulness of your millions will then follow. No theory. No theory. Like, this is how a regular guy like me, who struggled my way through most of my adult life, cracked the code. And compared to the stuff that I did when I was making $30,000 a year, I feel like I'm playing right now. I feel like I'm playing. It ain't harder. It's so much easier. If I had not become aware of how it actually worked, I would be confused by what's happening in my life right now. Are y'all tracking? So I'm gonna go the four levels of value. This is in Genesis chapter 1 and 2. Life will pay you in direct proportion to the level of value you create. Now, here's where most people mess up. Most people mistakenly think that life will pay you according to the amount of value that you create. But if you create a large amount of value at a lower level, you're just going to be more broke and more tired. But you can produce less volume of value at a higher level and make way more money.
Good morning and God bless everybody. Man, that's powerful. I don't know if y'all was feeling that or taking that in, but that is some good stuff. Good morning. God bless everybody for watching and jumping on. What a beautiful day it is the Lord has made. Let us be glad and rejoice in it. All right. D is in the house. What's going on? Daryl. Nita's here. Omar's here. Good morning. God bless. Show y'all some love. Everybody else that's in the building. Stop by and hit the thumbs up for me. Show me a little love. Appreciate you. Appreciate you. All right, let's move on to down and around and see what else is going on here. Got a sales stop on you, Chef. Not expecting much volatility in the market today, but overall, it's been a pretty good week. Had some losses and we had some wins. More wins than losses though, so it's a good thing. Yesterday, everything that we put in hit TP, which was gravy, baby. What I'm gonna do, I'm actually Ivan Golden is one of my favorite speakers I like to listen to. My mentor uh, actually travels around with Myron sometimes. They do stuff together. So I'm going to actually share this in the chat. But you want to, finish checking it out. I may jump back on and play some more because I just really enjoy what he was saying. Sometimes I like listening to other people talk instead of hearing me talk all the time, especially if it's good, positive stuff that's feeding me. All right. So taking a look at U Chef right now. U Chef is on the board, 18 minutes after the hour. Let's go ahead, check out GU. Taking a look at G to the U. So uh, GU is looking like it's been selling, but I see I got my call right here to take it. It looks like a pretty good move. All right, gonna do it like Pat right there. GU. I'm not gonna type it in. Why am I saying? Hold on for a second, y'all. Wait 1 second. Wait 1 second. You know what? To be honest with you, I like this better as a sale. Uh, I do see what GU can push up. Think I'll do. Think I'll do both. I'm gonna put a. I'm gonna put a sale stop in here as well. Okay. So let me just let you know right now that the buy stop is the counter trend trade. Okay. on the lower time frame. On our higher time frames, GU is an uptrend, but it has had a nice pullback. Okay. So we're like at a point to where is it a reversal or is this just a pullback? So it's kind of really hard to say what the market is going to do at this point, but it's still in seller's territory, but showing good buying power. Okay. So that's why I'm going with the buy. I'm playing it safe and I'm putting my sell about here, this line here, and then I'm just do that for the sale. Now it's Friday. I'm not expecting, there's not much happening in the market today. So I'm not expecting both of them to hit. To be honest with you, the market could consolidate for the rest of the day. All right. It's Friday. It's the end of the week. A lot of the big players are not even coming in today. All right. So keep that in mind. All right. So I'm going to go back in and I'm going to finish just putting these in. And if you're watching me or following me and seeing what I'm doing, then just watch the numbers over here to the side. I'm gonna get some more of this good word in from Myron. Well, I was getting ready to go and get that good word in from Myron, but I think I'm gonna go over here and check out the chef and see what the chef is cooking. Uh, the chef has entered the building. Okay, so let's just, if you got a chance to put the chef in, let's just get a chance to kick back and see what the chef has in store for us this morning. Oh, whoa, I forgot. Like you scared me. Come on, y'all. It's Friday. Rock the bells. Make a lot of money and your boyfriend don't. Said I make a lot of money and your boyfriend don't. We don't count the chickens before the egg hatches, but we do enjoy having a good time. Right. So all else fail, we just happy to get an entry. Right. We don't have to win to be happy and celebrate around here. Yes, yes, yes. Right. Just like rocking bells. We know we're not gonna win them all. So if it turns around on us, don't be like, he was doing all that celebrating and it didn't even hit TP. We celebrating life around here. All right. We're gonna have a good time regardless. All right, y'all. So I'm gonna move through these. GU was on the board. All right. NZD is right here. How do we get an entry on NZD? I didn't even hear the bell ring. Whipper to the snapper. All right, I'm going back to Myron. Going back to Myron, and then we'll just. I'm here. I'm here. I'm gonna keep him down low, and then I'm here.
Okay. What's the lowest level of value? The lowest level of value is implementation. By the way, the reason this is true is because wealth is spiritual in its essence. It is not materialistic in its essence. You think you've been taught your whole life. This is one of those erroneous things that we bought into. This is one of those lies that we believe that we protect because of where we got it from. We believe that thinking about wealth is too materialistic. But like working hard for a little bit of money is way more materialistic than starting a business that serves more people. It's way more materialistic. I'll prove it to you in a minute. So, implementation level, this is the lowest level of value. The amount of money you're going to make when you're down here on this implementation level is going to be somewhere between minimum wage and
I haven't locked anything
maybe
yet in on
80,000.
GA. We do that now. So
You're going to make minimum wage if you're making tacos at Taco Bell. You're going to be making 80,000 a year if you're working on a Rolls Royce or Mercedes or a Bentley or some high level car and you're a mechanic. These are the resources you're using. You're using your muscles. Let me ask you a question about muscles. Are they a spiritual resource or physical? They're a physical resource. and you're using your muscles over time. Is time an unlimited resource or a limited resource? So we're using a physical resource times a limited resource, and we're seeking to produce an unlimited result. It's not possible. It's like attempting to turn water into oil or oil into water. They're different components. And so if you are at the implementation level, like you are pretty much, it doesn't matter how hard you work down here. It's interesting. Like I just stayed at the Nobu Hotel in Atlanta last week, and we had 3 rooms. I don't remember how much it was. I was going to say how much it was a night, but I don't remember. Let's just say it was $370 a night. Okay? The hardest working people in that hotel are the housekeeping staff. The people who make the least amount of money in the hotel is the housekeeping staff. And I know you feel badly for them. So do I. That's why I give them tips, right? But you feel badly for them. And it's like, that's not fair. It doesn't matter if it's fair. Life ain't fair. But it's there. And the reason they make a little bit of money is because they're using their muscles over time. And it doesn't matter what you use your muscles over time to do. You are
All
limiting
right,
the
let me
amount of
look
money
at
you can
this
make.
and see.
So you elevate. And you move up to the next level, which is unification. And in this level, you're going to make somewhere between $40,000 a year, $40,000 a year, and $250,000 a year. $40,000 if you're managing Taco Bell, $80,000 if you're a middle manager at Lockheed Martin or Boeing or one of those companies. And on this level, the resource you're using your management skills to make money.
This
But
is a
you're actually performing
tricky
a
one
higher
as
spiritual
well.
activity than doing the thing yourself. You're actually managing a bunch of people to produce the result. Well, managing people requires a higher level of spiritual acumen and social acumen and just patience and acumen in general than doing the thing yourself. How many of y'all tracking? Say I'm tracking. Okay. So wealth does not start to be created like wealth. I'm not talking 20,000 a month, 30,000 a month. I'm not talking about. I'm talking about like big money, big-ish. 50,000, 100,000, 200,000, 300,000 a month, $500,000 a month, $1 million a month, $3 million a month. That money starts to be made above the line. On the low end, really bottom low end, you're going to make 100,000 a year. High end, literally could make hundreds of millions of dollars a year. Hundreds of millions? Yes, hundreds of millions. On the low end, you might sell cars. On the high end, you might be an A-list actor, an A-list singer. Somewhere in the middle, you might be an author or a salesperson or a blogger or a podcaster. Somewhere in the middle. And this level is called communication. And on this level, the resource we use our mouth to make money. Now here's what's amazing. It doesn't seem fair. Make between 100,000 a year and 100 million a year using your mouth. Now, there's a caveat. You have to have a mouth. Here's the hard part. You must learn how to use it. And the only thing most people use their mouth for is to proclaim words that throw rocks on the path of their progress.
Mm.
So, this is where the fortunes start to be made. Wait a minute, Myron, are you telling me that a person who writes a book one time and sells a bunch of those books every month is going to make more than somebody who's out in Florida in the middle of the summer putting on a roof when it's 97 degrees outside in Tampa? Yes, a lot more. This is so crazy. I wrote this book in 2006. This book makes me between $5,000 and $12,000 a month every month. I haven't read it since 2007 probably. But I don't get paid when I read it. I get paid when I sell it. I wrote this book in 2021. 3 years ago, this book came out. 3 years ago, I wrote this book. Watch it. This book makes between $25,000 and $70,000 a month. I'm not writing the book, But I communicated a message on paper, and people keep saying, send it to me, send it to me, send it. If you send it to me, I'll send you some money. I said, okay, let me send it to you. Communication. What's the highest level? The highest level of value is imagination. On this level, we use our mind and our money as resources to make money. If you will decide today, do what today? Decide. Everybody do what? Decide. If you will decide today that you're going to start today, spending more time working above the dotted line than you do down below. I'm not saying stop working below the dotted line, because if you do, they come in to turn your lights off. I'm not saying stop working below the dotted line. I'm just saying, like, make it a conscious decision to start working above the dotted line so that you can start doing stuff in your mind and with your mouth that can make you millions of dollars. Now, in order for us to do that, we have to understand the functions of the mind. The mind has a lot of functions. We don't really think about the mind. I mean, it's like saying we don't really talk about the mouth. We don't really look at the eyes. Okay, but we don't really think about the mind. Think about it. I wonder what are the functions of my mind? How many of you, honestly, before I ask that question, have never had that thought? What are the functions of my mind, right? You don't think about, okay, well, I'm gonna cover some of the functions of the mind that I believe are absolutely essential for us to understand, for us to use our mind to make millions of dollars. And I'm not saying this because I need you. Like, I have helped other people make millions of dollars in a day. I've helped so many clients have $1 million days and literally generate $1 million in revenue in an hour. And I know it sounds crazy, it sounds ridiculous, and you don't have to believe me. Either I'm the biggest idiot liar in the world, or I'm telling a truth that's just so fantastical, you got to find out about it. So one of those, right? Okay. And I don't think I'm an idiot or a liar, so I'll let you do your own evaluations of that. Okay. What are the faculties of the mind? Okay, number one, imagination. What does imagination mean? It means I have the ability to see clearly in my mind an outcome, a function, a picture, a movie, before it's actually in front of my eyes. Imagination in the mind is what vision would be in the eyes. But here's the beauty of with the eyes, you can't see it until it's there. In the mind, you can see it decades before it's there. Did y'all feel that? Imagination. Everything that we see, this building that we're in, somebody conjured it up in their imagination, shared it with an architect, or maybe they were the architect, and they drew it out on paper. And then they handed the paper to somebody else, and the people took the paper, and then they went and used their contracting skills and their contracting connections to build the building. Every song that's ever been written started in somebody's mind. They could hear the notes in their head. Oh, yeah, they started writing the score. Or they just picked up their instrument and they started playing it. It all starts in the imagination. And what's cool is, so let me clarify something, because some of you are thinking, where's that in Genesis 1 and 2? Okay. God created three categories in creation. God created three categories in creation. He created creation, the sun, the moon, the stars, the grass, the trees, etc. Okay? God created creation. When God created creation, he said, let there be. So he created light, let there be light. Let the waters above the firmament be separated from the waters below. Light, let there be water, right? God created creatures. When God created creatures, he said, let the earth bring forth. Let the earth bring forth. The earth brought forth the land animals. The sea brought forth the fish and the fowl. Okay, so that's how God delegated the creation of creatures to the creation that he had created. Y'all tracking? But when God got ready to make the crown of his creation, he didn't say, let there be man, because man is more than creation.
I'm putting another cell right here.
Forth man, or let the water bring forth man, because man is more than a creature. These people
Excuse
say
me,
man is a higher form.
in case somebody wants to.
About the nature of animals and the nature of men. The Hebrew word
So
for
crazy
animal,
here.
for beast, is ba-he-ma. Ba, in. He, behold.
Okay.
Ma, what? Here's what an animal is. In it is what it is. What does that mean? A horse is a horse is a horse, of course. Okay, some of y'all who are a little older get that. What it means is a horse can only do what a horse could do the first day a horse got here. A dog can only do what a dog could do the first day a dog got here. A cat can only do what a cat could do the first day a cat got here. A bird can only do what a bird could do the first day a bird got here. Human beings were created to be progressively productive. We didn't have cell phones in the Garden of Eden. We didn't have televisions and computers and internets and planes and trains and automobiles. Why? Because God created humans as creatives or creators. So he created us to create stuff, and he made us to make stuff. When God made man, here's what he said. He said, let us make man in
We
our
already
image.
in on
Notice
this
he
one.
didn't say, let us make man in our
Guess if
image.
you
Guess what
want
had to
to.
exist first? The image had to exist before he could say that, or there would be no image to make God, man in the image of. So it starts with the image. That's the highest imagination. Then God said, that's communication. It's the words that came out of his mouth. He didn't say, let me make man in my image. He said, let us make man in our image. That's the unification. And the last thing that it says in
So this
Genesis
is going to
chapter
be
2,
a
verse number 7,
T
and
and
the
a
Lord God
TP.
formed or squeezed man of the dust of the ground, is the implementation. The last thing God made or formed was the man's body. And when God formed the body, he breathed the man, the imagination, the communication, and the unification into the body that he formed. And the man became a living soul. Are y'all tracking? That's where I got the 4 levels of value. But so just so you think, so you know I'm not reading something into this, this is something we see over and over in Scripture. Watch this. Do you remember Genesis chapter 11? Like, not only is this the 4 levels of value, this is the 4 levels of achievement. What does that mean? It starts with imagination, just like this building, just like a
There's the
computer, just like a
TP.
song.
The bottom of
Imagination,
this.
then communication, then unification, then implementation. You have to have all 4. You have a business, you need imagination, communication, unification, implementation. You have to have all 4. Well, watch this. Do you understand that process even works when you're doing something evil? Because Genesis chapter 11, after the flood, Nimrod, who wants to be the king of the world, says, we're going to build a city and a tower whose top can reach heaven. When I was a little kid, I'd read that and thought to myself, that sounds like the dumbest idea ever. They got no hydraulics. They have no helicopters. They have no cranes. You're going to build a tower whose top can reach heaven, so if God sends another flood, we can escape it. Well, why would he think that would work? I don't know, maybe because he's made in the image of God. Now, I read that and I think it's dumb. Here's what it says. The Lord came down to see the city and the tower which the sons of men builded. And here's what the Lord said. This people is one. Unification. They all have one language, communication. Now, this they begin to do, implementation. Now, nothing will be restrained from them which they've what? Imagined to do. Y'all checking? And so what happens is, God said, when you've put these 4 things together, even if you're using them for something bad, they still work. Okay, y'all tracking? That's how important imagination is. I gotta keep it moving because there are a whole lot more components. So faculties of the mind. Number 1, imagination. Number 2, cognition. Cognition, what does that mean? I'm now aware of it. Like there's so many things. Like my mom one day saw me going like that and slobbering all over myself. She said, that's your hand, baby. I said, ha. And I learned I had a hand. Well, guess what? I don't have a hand. I got 2 of them. And then eventually I had to learn that this is my left hand, this is my right hand. And guess what? Even if I turn around the other way, this is still my left hand, this is still my right hand. Like, that sounds funny, but do you understand? Like when I was a little kid, I thought, well, if this is my left hand because it's over here and my right hand, what if I turn around? Do they change? No, they're still the same. Right? But all of that stuff we take for granted, we had to learn it. We had to become cognizant of it. I wasn't cognitive of the fact that my left hand is different than my right hand when I was born. I had to become aware of that. Are y'all tracking? So then there's correlation, that my hand is different than my foot. My hands are for holding, my feet are for walking. All of these things are functions of the mind. And all of these functions of the mind are worth developing and paying attention to. Okay, so I'm gonna go through them faster because I want to get to the point, which is, okay, so we have imagination, we have cognition, we have correlation, we have comprehension. That means now, not only do I know what it is, but I understand how it works. Okay, so there are some people, maybe some of you, is there anybody in here who like you play a musical instrument by ear? You just sat down at a piano one day and could play. Anybody? No? Nobody? No? Okay. We got one person. Pick up a guitar and you could just play it. Like, I don't even understand how that could be possible. It just, like, I just picked it up and I just knew it. What does that even mean? Okay, good. I know it works though because I've seen people do it, right? Didn't work like that for me. Without some music theory, music makes no sense to me. I mean, it sounds great, but I can't, like, people talk about the key of C, the key of G, what key is that in? I'm like, what does that even mean? What's the key signature? Well, how do you know which chord and what key signature? What's the first, the fourth, and the fifth? When I learned first, fourth, fifth, then I knew that the first, fourth, and the fifth were the major chords in any key. I'm like, okay, now I know what chords. I already know how to play the chords. Now I know when I'm playing a key, I know which chords to play. Then I learned what keys are in each chord. And when I learned, okay, a C has a C and E, C, D, E, yeah, C and E and a G, I'm like, okay, so that's a chord, that's a three-note chord called a tri. When I started to learn that, I said, okay, now this makes sense. And then when it started making sense to me, then I could start playing music from a place of understanding, not just from a place of knowing. See, here's what people don't realize. You can know something and not understand it. That's the problem with a lot of Bible believers. We know what the Bible says, but we don't understand what it's saying. We know the Logos and do not understand the Rhema. Okay, so there's comprehension. Why do we memorize things? So we don't have to look them up again, right? We used to memorize people's phone numbers. We don't do that anymore. We just memorize their name now, right? We remember their name, and okay, where's that person in my phone? Until you get a phone like mine that has so many contacts in it, it can't find everybody, even though they're in there, right? Okay. So, memorization. But we memorize things so we don't have to go back and relearn it. And then there's prioritization. Prioritization, what's that? We put things in order so that we focus on the most important things first. Prioritization, that's a function of the mind. Anticipation, that's our ability, by the way, this is, I believe, one of our greatest superpowers. I mean, expectation is our greatest superpower. This is one half of our greatest superpower. And that is anticipation. What is that? The ability to expect an outcome before the outcome shows up. It's anticipation. And anticipation energizes us. Anticipation is the energy I get when the outcome I expect is desirable to me. The opposite of anticipation is anxiety. That's also a function of the mind, right? And anxiety is wasting present energy on a future outcome that's undesirable to me. And see, anxiety feels like fear. Smells like fear, sounds like fear, causes the same physical reactions in my body as fear. But the problem is, it's not fear, because fear is caution over a real and present danger. Anxiety is caution over a future imagined danger. And so if I'm imagining a danger in the future that I don't expect to work out in the way that I'd like it to work out, I have anxiety that feels like fear, and it robs me of the ability to take action. I don't have time to prove it to you. That's anticipation and anxiety. Okay. Then we have categorization. We put things in categories. Like music is in a category, and then like poetry is in a category, and then like science is in a category, and math is in a category, and relationships are in a category, and business is in a category, and spirituality. Like we categorize things so that we can know what we should use when, where, when, and how, right? Okay? And then there's rationalization. Oh, snap. Rationalize. Rationalize? We rationalize? Yes, we do. What do we do when we rationalize? We tell ourselves rational lies.
That's good.
And we allow the rational lies we tell ourselves to talk us out of all our chances. Can I get a witness?
That's good.
That'll never work because, and whatever we say after because, we believe that and act as if it's the truth that like came down to Moses on Mount Sinai. Rationalization, distortion, like we take things. By the way, when you hear somebody else talk, you almost always distort. You don't hear what they said. You translate what they said into a language that's acceptable to your automatic mind. And then you say that to yourself, and you think you heard what they said, but you actually heard your interpretation of what they said. It's called distortion. And then generalization is we generalize things. We love to group and tag things. Oh, you're just one of those people. It's, by the way, this generalization is not just something that we do in our mind. It's also something that we do in our society to discredit people through the use of ad hominem fallacies. And an ad hominem fallacy is when I call somebody a name to discredit their opinion and make their voice invalid in the marketplace. So I say, well, that person's just a racist. Well, if I call them a racist, now we should just stop listening to them because they've been labeled, right? So we don't have to evaluate what they're actually saying anymore because we've called them a racist. That person is a sexist. That person is a monogynist. This person is a bigot. That person's a this. That person's a that. That person's just an idiot. This person's a loser. And so what we do is we put labels on people to discredit them as a form of generalization and deletion of their opinion as something valid because the opinion of somebody who we put that label on no longer matters. Anyway, you have to recognize that usually when people use ad hominem fallacies, they're using it because they know their argument is weak. So they'll call somebody else a name so that the people listening to them will discredit the person that the person calling them a name wants them to discredit. It's really fascinating. Okay, so we have generalizations and deletions. So those are the faculties of your mind. Well, here's the problem. If somebody teaches you, says, okay, if you do this, and this, you can make $1,000,000. What happens if you rationalize and say, well, that sounds like a scam, and you distort it? Now, there's no way in the world that could work. They said all you have to do is, and then you distort it, and then you generalize it. Well, if it were that easy, everybody'd be doing it. And then you delete it. You're like, that's not going to work, and then you go back doing what you've always done. By the way, we don't do that stuff intentionally. We've been programmed by some machine outside of us, the cultural hypnotic societal mechanism, to do that so that we never show up for ourselves, because they desire for us to be sick, broke, misinformed, and fearful, because people who are sick, broke, misinformed, and fearful are easier to control than people who are healthy, wealthy, well-informed, and courageous.
I don't think y'all heard that. I don't think y'all heard that. Oh, up, wake up, stretch, yarn. Ooh, man. I dropped the link. Like, this is worth going back listening to, because there's so much realness in here. And the stuff that he's talking about is some of the stuff, a lot of stuff that my mentor talks to me about and tells me. And let me tell you, I have tested some of it out, and it's real, real.
Those are the faculties of the mind. You, like, you have to get control over those, become aware of them, get control of them if you're going to make millions of dollars. Like, I don't think making $1,000,000 in an hour is hard. I don't think making a couple $1,000,000 in an hour is hard. And I'm not saying that because I'm so smart and so wonderful. I didn't assign a level of difficulty to it, and I've done it so many times now, I don't know how to believe it's hard anymore. I've already proven to myself it's not hard. And see, you're believing someone, right? You weren't born believing anything you believe, so everything you believe, you're believing someone. I mean, so you can decide to believe somebody else or not. Okay, cool. The functions of your mouth. Communication. The reason we have conversations with people is to take the thoughts out of our head and put them in their head so they can think about what we're thinking about. That's why we have conversations. And then they say words to take the thoughts out of their head and put them in our, and then we can take the thoughts they gave us and the thoughts we gave us, we can mix them together and figure out, okay, what conclusion should I come to now? Are y'all tracking? And then we don't just use our words, our mouths, the function of, okay, so the faculties of our mind are our power. The faculties of our mind are our power. If we don't learn how to use that power, somebody's going to use our mind power against us. Okay. The functions of our mouth are our proclamations. Death and life are in the power of the tongue, and they that love it shall eat the fruit thereof. Thou shalt also decree a thing, and it shall be established unto thee. So words have power. Words that we proclaim produce outcomes. Okay? So we use words for communication, but we also use words for compulsion. That's what I'm doing right now. I am using my words to compel you to believe that if you learn how to use your words, and instead of just using words the way you've been taught to use words, you can create a life by design instead of a life by default. If you will become more hyper-intentional about your thoughts and more hyper-intentional about your words, your life has to produce something drastically different than it's been producing when you got programmed by somebody other than yourself. And so the reason we have communication with people and have compulsory conversation with people is so we can have a conversion, so that they change the idea that's not serving them to an idea that would. So the whole purpose of the conversation and the compulsion is conversion. My desire is to get you to believe more in you than you've ever believed in you before. Why? Because you're made in the image of God, and He believes in you. Like people say, I don't believe in God. I always say, my answer is always the same. That's okay. He believes in you. And the reason He believes in you is not because you're you. The reason He believes in you is because He's in you, because you're made in His image. His breath is in your lungs. Okay. So, the faculty of your mind is your power. The functions of your mouth are your proclamations. The factory of your method is your processes. What are your processes? Implementation. Thinking and talking aren't enough. You have to do something. You have to actually do something. It's your production. So the implementation that you do produces something that other people can use. I did a whole video on this. Wealth is not money. Or money's not wealth. Money is not wealth. What is wealth? Wealth is my ability to produce something of value for someone other than myself. That's what wealth is. Wealth is my ability to produce something of value for someone other than myself. When you obsess over their problems more than they do, and you come up with a solution, like, they will trust you, they will follow you, they will do business with you because you've proven to them that you've already obsessed over this and you figured it out, so they can spend their time actually working in flow instead of using their time to figure it out. Okay, y'all try. Progression. So we use the factory of our method is our implementation, our production, and then our progression. Because the things that we produce are what creates progress for us in our lives. Did you notice that the scripture says, be fruitful and multiply, replenish the earth, subdue it, and have dominion? Be fruitful, produce on the outside based on what I put on the inside of you. Multiply, increase. Replenish, fill up the earth with the stuff you've increased. Subdue, trample down everything that tries to stop you. And then you'll have dominion. What is God saying? I made human beings to be progressively productive. God made you so that today is supposed to be better than yesterday. This week is supposed to be better than last week. This month is supposed to be better than last month. This year than last year. This decade than last decade. Now, here's the challenge. I never thought about this before. I was talking to somebody or listening to somebody. I don't even remember who it was. Oh, Bishop Wayne Malcolm. In the Old Testament, the rewards that God's people in the Old Testament were working for were all worth earthly rewards. The rewards that God's people were working towards in the Old Testament were all earthly rewards. Okay, you do this, this is what you can expect. This is the outcome you can expect. And see, unfortunately, most modern day churchianity Christian people don't read the Old Testament. They only read the New Testament, which for them is not the New Testament, it's just the half testament because they never read the Old Testament, so the New Testament ain't new to them. They don't have anything to relate it to. And you cannot understand the New Testament without the Old Testament. So, I mean, it might make you feel really good and flowery, but it has to have something that it's founded upon. And Jesus himself said, I did not come to destroy the law, but to fulfill it. Anyway, that's a different conversation for another day. So, our progress. And then the fruitfulness of millions are your profits. Where do the millions come from? They come from somebody else. They're determined by the value you create for someone else. But watch this. You cannot produce value for someone until you discover what's valuable to that someone. So how do I discover what's valuable? I'm going to tell you. This is so cool. Like, if I'm going to produce something of value to you, that's valuable to you, I have to know what your values are, don't I? Mm-hmm. And I have to know where your values come from. So where do values come from? Values come from three different places. Number one, past perceived voids produce present pursued values. Past perceived voids, what does that mean? When you grow up feeling like something's missing, you value that thing and you seek to fill that gap, that hole in your life. So when I was a kid, like I live in a regular house. I mean, it's nice. It's a nice house. It's just me and my wife, and it's 3,500 square feet. It's not a mansion. I mean, I could live in a mansion, but I don't live in one, at least not right now. Maybe one day I will. Maybe one day I won't. I don't know. If I do, I do. If I don't, I don't. I'm okay with that. But I'm just saying, I just live in a regular, nice house, in a nice community, but I have, like, uber nice cars. Like, ridiculous. My cars are ridiculous. My kids are like, Dad, your cars don't match your house. You need to move, right? Right. I'm just saying. But when I was growing up, my parents never bought a new car. We never had a new car my whole life growing up in my parents' house. We'd have cars that when you bought it, you'd have to put an engine or a transmission or both in it. We had cars that, like, I had a car. I drove a car to Christian school when I was a junior or senior in high school that was like an old Buick Electra 225, had 4 different colored doors on it. And the kids in school made fun of us and called it the Golden Getaway Mobile. So that past perceived void, that was, y'all hurting me now, boy. that past perceived void created a present perceived value for me. When I can, I'm going to have nice cars. Are y'all tracking? Does that make sense? Okay, so that's one place. But also, present perceived virtues produce present perceived pursued values. So if I see something that, if I believe that something is good, I will pursue it because I believe it's good. So present perceived virtues also create value. So if I can figure out what you think is good right now, and I figure out a way to deliver that to you, the likelihood of you buying it is much greater than if I just deliver something to you that I perceive as good. Does that make sense? And then lastly, it's determined by future pursued visions. If I know the thing you're working towards, and I can deliver you a bridge to that destination or transportation to that destination, you might say yes to my offer. So the fruitfulness of millions are your profits, and it's determined by the value. But that's how you learn this value. But even though, I'm just going to say it. So even though it's determined by value, it's also determined by your virtues, not just the virtues they're seeking, but the virtues that you can deliver. In other words, if you tell, your words have to match your flesh. If you tell somebody you can do something for them, you have to be able to deliver on your promises. If you can't deliver on your promises, or you don't deliver on your promises, they're not going to deliver profits to you because all you've done is demonstrate that you're actually not good. Okay. And then last but not least, it's determined by your vision. The profits that you develop are determined by your vision. We will never behave consistently in a way that's inconsistent with our programming, and we will never work towards a vision that we feel in our heart is impossible for us.
Come on.
Like, I don't have a problem focusing on, like, millions of dollars worth of profits because I don't think it's outside my reach.
Come on.
So even hundreds of millions of dollars is not outside my reach. It's an awareness. It's not even a goal. Like, I don't have a goal. I don't have a goal of being a hectomillionaire. I don't even have a goal of being a billionaire. But if I keep on living and the world doesn't implode and things pretty much keep progressing, it seems inevitable. Not because it's like I don't have a goal. Anyway, that's a different conversation for another day. You say, Myron, what's your point? My point is, when we get our mind right and we get our mouth right, millions will show up.
Hmm.
I'm going to ask this question as I end. What if your mind is a supercomputer? And what if all of the results you have in your house, I mean, not in your house, in your life, are a 3D printing? What if you 3D printed your house, your car, your relationships, your bank account, your investments? What if your mind is a supercomputer and all of the results you're producing are a 3D printout? And what if the words that come out of your mouth are the programming for the computer that is your mind that produces the 3D printing of your results?
Man.
Would you change how you talk, and would you change how you think? Because all of those things are exactly how it is. I hope this video blesses you. This is Mind Over Millions, or how to use your mind to change your life. Thank you for watching.
Yo, yo, yo. That's good stuff. That's good stuff. It's good stuff. And it's funny because I wanted to talk to y'all about Isaiah 26:3. Isaiah 26:3. You keep him in perfect peace, whose mind is stayed on you because he trusts in you. I've been talking about this, like, just kind of self-sabotage, watching your circle, seeing who's around you. Um, we are talking about, like, What are you focused on throughout the day? What stays on your mind? What thoughts are you dwelling on? Like just going throughout your day, what are you thinking about? Are you limiting yourself or empowering yourself? I'll get back to this, but it seems like we've got something that came up. Let's see, USD CHF, USD CHF. It seems like it's real. It seems like it's real. There we go. Yep. Looks like we hit our TP. So it's Friday. We got a chance to rock a bell. Go. Just when you thought we forgot about them. Come on. I excel. They all fail. The bells. Hey, 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 hey. You know we make a lot of money and they boyfriends don't. We make a lot of money and your boyfriend don't. Hey, waiting and debating for all so long. For Choc to create his own, we got another TP song. All right. Thankful for that TP. I kind of thought we was going to get a lot of consolidation today. We did get a TP there, a couple of entries, and then pullbacks, but looking for bounce back off of this zone here. And then the same thing here. Want to see if it's going to pull back and drop down. Okay. What I'm going to say this. So, like, it's what you put in you. Are you going throughout the day talking about how defeated you are, feeling how broken you are, or just how things are not going your way? Favor, breakthrough, and abundance is what you should be focused on and what you should be telling yourself. Instead of focusing on your problems are going to be there. But create that the healthy thoughts that's going to make you feel better. It's gonna push you to do better. You gotta get out of the doubt room. Come out of the doubt room. The worry room. Get out of there. Get out of there. Focus on what God promised you and keep it simple. It's a very, 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 very simple principle. When a negative thought comes to my mind, like I can't say immediately I take it away, but I may sit there for a minute and I may think about it. But when I catch myself being there too long, and like I've been thinking about this too long, I'm really depression is starting to sit in, then I stop and I automatically start to think about things that are positive, things that make me feel good, right? In your situation, it may be pictures on the wall of an ex, a past relationship, the way things used to be, whatever, and it just brings you down. Then take that down and replace it with something that's going to put a smile on your face. A lot of times we allow these situations to bring us down and keep us down. Stop it. You know what bothers you. Stop it and start thinking about the things that are possible. Think about what you're going to do. Delete, control, alt, delete those things out and start thinking about the positive stuff. The faith filled thoughts. That's where God wants you to be. Don't sit there and think about nothing because that's impossible. What you thinking about nothing? Your mind is always going. There's no pause button in your mind. There's no stop button, but you can switch what you think about. If your mind is going the wrong direction, you're the only person that can talk to you and do a U-turn and put your mind on the right track. Put it on, put it in the right direction. If you keep thinking I'm never gonna win a trade, I'm always gonna hit TP, then guess what? The universe hears those thoughts, feels that energy, and you're gonna keep losing trades. Feel like that about your relationship, and that's what it's gonna be. Don't keep thinking about what you can't do. Think about what you can't do. Don't tell yourself you're not enough. You're more than enough. There may be things that you don't know how to do, but then in that with yet, only if you desire to do it. Your problems may be big. Your problems may be too big. True enough, maybe too big for you, but they are not too big for God. Don't dwell on defeat. Let it go. Delete, delete, delete. Replace, replace, replace. If there are people that's in your circle, your friends, and they bringing you down, those are not your real friends. Misery loves company. I don't want that kind of company. Delete, control, alt, delete. I'm moving on. This is not working. This is not the kind of friend. This is not the kind of company I need. It's unhealthy for me. I'm moving on. Replace it. God has favor on your life. The devil knows it. He can see it. You can't. And that's why he keeps throwing obstacles in your way to block you from getting to where God wants you to be. You were thinking of doing one thing, and then here comes a so called friend. Yo, let's go to the club and get a drink. But you were thinking about something totally different. And you end up going to the club and getting that drink. And it's not where you should have been. Then you go there and you have a bad night. Something happens, whatever. Right? Sometimes the enemy will put people in your path to distract you. And they may not intentionally mean you any harm. They may just want to, kick it with you. But it's up to you to say, nah, I got something else to do, or that's not what I want to do, or I'm all right, thank you anyway. You have to guard your mind, guard your eyes, guard your thoughts. And when you sit in front of the TV and you absorb all of this negative stuff that's on TV, when you absorb all of these negative things on the radio, you'll be surprised how it plays a part in your mind. Gotta delete it. Society wants us to be in a box, and they've figured out ways to keep us in a box, and we are allowing them to, just like he said, they don't want you to think outside the box. They want you to think that you need to work a 9 to 5. They want you to do this and do that because that's the way it's designed. The music that's out, it's by design. Do you realize how much love there was in the black community before all this negative music came about? Our music was uplifting. Your mother would put on songs that lift you up. Your mother would play Marvin Gaye and you got happy, right? Or you thought about, I gotta straighten up, I gotta get out of this, I gotta change this because this ain't right. Brother, brother, brother. The music was uplifting. We were together. And then all of a sudden, like they noticed that. Well, we gotta stop this. We gotta stop this. We gotta bring in uh, some music that's going to bring the next generation down. We gotta bring and it's so simple because it's by design. Bring in the crack into the community. The crack is going to rock them. The crack is going to take care of the parents. So now, 20, 30, 40 years later, guess what? The kids will be raising themselves and we'll be able to raise them ourselves by the music and the television and whatever we put on the screen or put in front of them. That's how they're going to live. When I was younger and I got mad and somebody made me mad, one of my friends or somebody I bumped into me, whatever happened and it wasn't right, and it got to a point that we wanted to attack each other, the first thought was, I'm going to bust your nose. which is cool because after the busted nose, everybody gets to go home. Everybody goes home. But with the music nowadays, it doesn't really talk about fighting. It's how fast can you shoot somebody? And now, as soon as our young people get mad, first thing they want to do is grab a gun and shoot somebody. Why? It's by design. So you want to go off into all that. But the bottom line is, y'all, stay positive, stay focused. Do not let this negativity bring you down. Come out of it. Your life is not what you want it to be. Okay. So what? You're not living the dream. You're not um, where you thought you would be. These were not your plans after high school. You thought that your life would be so much better. Well, guess what? It is. It's so much better than a lot of people. And if you don't like where you're at, guess what? You can change it. You can change it. It's up to you. And I think all of you that are on here already know half of the stuff I'm talking about. But it's easier said than done. But once you do it, you make a step in the right direction, it feels so good. There's certain things that I changed. There's no way anybody can talk me back into doing them. The things I used to do. There's no way somebody can talk me into going back into the club, looking for the girls and trying. No, not with what I have now. A wife, a family, beautiful kids. There's no way. There's no way I'm going back to that. When you know better, you do better. You appreciate what you have. It may not be what you planned and what your dreams were, but let me tell you something. There are people that's really going through and suffering. And sometimes you don't realize what you have until it's gone. And we do not value life enough. We don't value the time we spend with our loved ones enough. So that's why it's so important for me to get here and talk to people because if I could bring people together with some trades and give them some money or help them get money and show them how I get money and then turn around and talk life into them, that's way better than any dollar amount. So your situation is bad. Sit and think about somebody else's. I was just in a hospital the other night. Didn't think that I was going to walk out of that hospital that day. I thought I was going to end up spending the night in the hospital. And it wasn't because of me, it was because of a loved one that I was with. But it's made me value things that much more. And as I was sad, but trying to keep and hold on to the faith, I tell you how I lift myself up because some of the rooms that I walked past, there were people in there in way worse shape than the condition of the person that I was with. And even if I had to spend a night in the hospital, it would not have been as bad as some of the people that were there in the emergency room. Find, find, find those things that are worse and that makes your situation seem better because it is. There are people that would change places with you in a heartbeat. You complaining that you don't have gas money to get to work. They don't even have a car. You complain about I don't like my job. They don't even have a job. They don't even have a place to stay. I need a new pair of shoes. I ain't had these shoes so long. It's people out here with shoes that hurt their feet, and that's all they have. I went to the store and saw a kid outside probably 11, 12 years old. Had on a, he was sitting out there asking for change. And I said, "What's going on, man? What you gonna do with this change, man?" He was asking for quarters. So I'm gonna get me and my brother something to eat. I said, "Man, y'all must not eat a lot. If a quarter can make you full, man, you don't eat that much, do you?" And he kind of smiled. And I was like, "Man, what you want to eat? Like, what you gonna buy with a quarter?" He says, "I have to get a lot of quarters to get what I want." I said, "What do you want?" I said, "Come on, let's go in the store and see if we can find what you want." And I bought him what he wanted. And here's the crazy part about it. I'm suggesting food for him to get, telling him that I would pay for the food. He was like, "No, I don't want cereal." I said, "Why?" He said, "Because we don't have any milk." I said, "I buy the milk." He said, "Well, I I'd rather have um, like oatmeal, because cereal is not gonna last. It's not gonna keep me full that long." All right, what else you want, man? You want some bread? He was like, "Yeah." You want some sandwich meat? He was like, "No, I'd rather have some chicken." Right? He knew I didn't even ask him if he was gonna be the one cooking, but I just kind of figured that maybe he would because he was not shopping like a kid. He was picking things that he and his brother could eat that would last. I said, "Man, you want some snacks, some chips?" And he was like, "Nah." I said, "You gotta have something to snack on." He just wanted the things that they needed. And I got him some snacky stuff anyway. And I said, "If you don't want it, maybe your little brother eat it." And I'm looking at this kid and I'm looking at his shoes. And after getting him um, stuff that he needed in the store, I told him I would be back. And I went and got him a pair of shoes. I went back home. I mean, and through the whole time through the store, every item that was picked up was thank you, thank you so much, thank you, thank you. I can't take too much stuff because I'm walking. So you need a ride home? Nah, nah, I'm okay. Nope, nope. But he just wanted what he needed. And then when I got home, I could not wait to tell my kids about this because they know nothing about it. And I realized like how blessed we are. And before, I had things in my mind I was going through my mind and I didn't like and I wasn't happy with and it's kind of beating myself up. But God will show you things to open your eyes and make you appreciate what you have. You just got to look around and see it for what it's worth. All right. Y'all already know I'm preaching to the choir. Um, Thank y'all for being here. Thank y'all for sticking around. Do me a favor, give me a couple of thumbs up. Got a TP. We got a couple of places, a couple of them that may turn around and hit. This is a good sign here. We got that rejection coming back into our favor. um, got our TP here. GU is dropping back down, which looks good. Looks real good. My pip eaters, if you take a look at this and talk about what we went over last night in class, you could see exactly what I'm talking about. You can see it. And this is that moment where, you get happy because it's starting to happen, right? Uh, Even here, right? We see it. GA. Don't think we did anything on GA. We didn't. No problem. Very welcome. Very welcome. I got one more story I'm gonna share, and I'm out of here. One more story, y'all. Listen to this. My wife was she picked up my son from school. She asked him to go to the store. Where she had to stop by the store, and he's like, "Mom, I need to get home. I gotta get home. I gotta get to the house." She's like, "Come on and ride to the store with me." He's like, "Mom, I gotta drop it like it's hot. And I'm not trying to do that in the store." So she laughed. She took. She was like, "Well, um, that's cool. All right." I forgot how they got to this particular point, but she had mentioned to him, she's like, "Oh, I need a quarter. Dog, I don't have a quarter. You got a quarter?" And he was like, "Nope." She said, "I had a quarter. I wanted it for a shopping cart." She said, "But I gave it away. I gave it to somebody." And my son was like, "Why? Why'd you give your quarter away? Why didn't you just tell him?" He said, "Next time, just tell him you need your quarters for your son who catches the bus." And my wife said, "You never know who you're talking to and who's asking you for help." She said, "Now, what if that was Jesus? What if that was Jesus? And he asked me for something as simple as a quarter?" My son just kind of thought about it, and that was it. When she pulls up, she takes him home and she goes to the store. And she pulls up in a parking spot. And then the voice in her head say, "Pull up to the next spot." She pulls up to the next spot. And it's like, "You're not up enough. Pull up a little bit more." And she's just being obedient, just listen to the voice. And she pulls up a little bit more, puts the car in park, gets her stuff, opens her door, steps out, looks down, and there is a quarter right there. Quarter right there. I don't know about to y'all, but that was deep to me. That's just being obedient, right? All right, y'all. Y'all have a good one. Happy Friday. Have a beautiful weekend. Have a beautiful weekend for all of my pip eaters. Back test, back test, back test, back test. 'Cause I know y'all excited after what I showed y'all last night. I think somebody even dropped some. I saw some results in the testimonies chat this morning. I didn't really get a chance to look at them, but I will go in there and look at them. Very proud of y'all. We got more results coming. All you have to do is do like I was telling you, back test, and you're gonna see it. On top of that, if you are not in a Facebook group, check it out. Boom, I'm gonna drop my Facebook link right here. uh, Also, I am going to drop the replay from last night. Okay. So big ups, big blessings, bless up. Yeah, man, bless up, man, you know? And that's it. Y'all have a good one. I'm Audi 5000.